Probably one of the most haunting and beautiful love theme songs of a major motion picture was the love theme from The Godfather. It's, even if you listen to the instrumental, it's a fairly recognizable music sample. And if you look at the lyrics where it talks about, it starts with "Speak Softly, Love." So look that up. And it was on my mind the last couple of days because this past weekend, Diane Keaton, who was in The Godfather, passed away. And she was an icon, truly an icon. And we hadn't seen her in a while. A lot of these famous actors, they kind of, sometimes they just drop out, right? And anyway, I was still very surprised because sometimes people, they kind of freeze in your mind at the age that you maybe had first seen them or in one of their most famous roles. And in The Godfather, oh my God, my dog. Sorry. In The Godfather, Al Pacino's character, Michael Corleone, and Diane Keaton's character, Kay, have this epic romance, but it's not without its challenges because they got separated for a while when Michael had to disappear to Sicily and gets married to somebody else, but then she passes away and then he comes back and finds Kay, which is kind of yeah. But anyway, the on-screen chemistry also existed off-screen, and they were apparently together for 20 years. They finally ended because he wouldn't marry her. So since then, there's been tributes that have come out in the press, but also Al Pacino has spoken out because Al Pacino, after they finally ended their romance, he ended up, starting a family with someone else, including having twins with another actress, Beverly D'Angelo. So that said, it's quite daunting when you think about how it takes moments like this when somebody is gone forever for the other person to say they were the love of my life. Now, I believe Diane Keaton had said and had made references that when she was alive, that Al Pacino was the one that got away. But I think, if I'm wrong, someone tell me, this is the first time I've seen Al Pacino pretty much declare that Diane Keaton was his twin flame, pretty much. So, when we lose someone, the things left unsaid or the chances never taken, often they do haunt us. So, bit of a reflection about this story that has entered into the discourse, because lo and behold, now Al Pacino is saying he now regrets never marrying her. So, whether it's true or not, it sort of taps into something deeper. The sorrow of the roads not traveled, the weight of if only. So Diane Keaton, born Diane Hall on January 5th, 1946, became one of Hollywood's most distinctive voices over a career spanning more than 5 decades. She dazzled in Annie Hall, The Godfather trilogy, Father of the Bride, Something's Gotta Give, First Wives Club, and many more. She not only acted, she directed, she produced, she shaped her own path. Sadly, Diane Keaton passed away in California on October 11th, 2025 at the age of 79. The Los Angeles Fire Department responded to a person down call in the morning, and she was transported to a hospital. And her family has asked for privacy, and so far no official cause of death has been made public. Friends have said that her health had declined very suddenly in recent months, and it was a change that took many by surprise. The decline was unexpected, they say, especially given her usual strength and spirit. She had long been candid in interviews about past health struggles, skin cancer, for instance, and early battles with bulimia, but this final illness was not publicly anticipated. And as these tributes rolled in, the film world is mourning not just an icon, but an irrepressible soul. So one of the most discussed chapters in Keaton's personal life is her long on-again, or her formerly long on-again, off-again relationship with the Godfather co-star Al Pacino. A relationship that began in the early 1970s, around the time that the very first Godfather was made. Over the years, they were romantically linked and delinked multiple times until their separation became final in 1987. So in interviews, Keaton once spoke of Pacino with affection. She described him as the most entertaining man and praised his unique magnetic presence, his face, his energy. She once said, quoting her own feelings, "To me, that is the most beautiful face. Al's face is like whoa." But their connection was not without its tensions and contradictions. Pacino has never married. In more recent reports after Keaton's death, sources close to Pacino have been quoted saying that his biggest regret was that he never proposed or made a more permanent commitment to her. So one report puts it bluntly, he will forever regret he didn't make his move when he had the chance. And that phrasing, "didn't make his move," suggests not just a decision he regrets, but a hesitation, a postponement, a moment lost forever. And in the wake of her passing, some outlets have framed Diane Keaton as having considered Pacino the one that got away. And the relationship lasted in its various forms for nearly 16 to 20 years, depending on how one counts the on and off stretches. But in the end, they parted ways. Sources say that after their final split, they hardly spoke, even though at times they lived just minutes apart in Beverly Hills. One source tells it they said everything that needed to be said at the time and so never reconnected. In 2017, when Keaton was honored with the American Film Institute's Life Achievement Award, Pacino spoke briefly and tenderly of her, saying, "You're a great artist. I love you forever." That moment, in retrospect, has drawn attention, a public expression of admiration decades after the romance ended. Yet for all the adoration he may have felt, what now presses on public imagination is this. After her death, he is said to feel regret. That inaction, that decision not made it now feels heavier, and because the chance is closed. It's powerful, tragic irony. Only after someone is gone do we sometimes dare to confess the things we never risked. We see it in every eulogy, every memoir, every I should have said. The story of Diane Keaton and Al Pacino, as it now is being reported, is not just celebrity gossip. It's a parable about regret, about missed opportunities, about our human tendency to delay. Regret doesn't come from the things we do as much as the things we do not do. A withheld confession, a postponed proposal, a step not taken. Those can haunt us far more than missteps. In the glare of hindsight, what seems bold is often the risk we're too cautious to take. If the reports are accurate, that Pacino now wishes he had asked her to marry him, that she felt he was the one she lost, then the story becomes more than romance. It becomes a caution. Don't wait until it's too late. How many of us live in the quiet assumption that we'll have another chance, another conversation, another moment? We tell ourselves tomorrow or later or when conditions are better. But sometimes, like in this story, later never comes. In the end, love is about more than timing or convenience. It's about willingness to risk vulnerability, to express what matters, to act when you feel moved, because left unsaid, left undone, those acts can morph into regret. So let this story, real or partly imagined, push us to live a little braver, to speak truth, to lean forward, to say the things we mean. Diane Keaton's life was full of art, full of laughter, full of risk. Even in her passing, she reminds us that time moves fast, that life is fragile, and that love left unspoken can echo far longer than we imagine. So if Al Pacino truly now regrets never marrying her, it is a profound and painful testament to that truth, that often the saddest things in life are the things we regretted not doing. So let this then be our invitation to act, to love, and to speak before it slips away. So let's relate this to Larry. This is why people love Larry Silenson, because maybe we don't want them to be the big regret too in our modern landscape. At least I'm relating it to Larry Silenson. I will say, though, that if you must be a fool for love, don't be completely off the rails either. Don't go a little, don't go beyond sanity. But the pain of being rejected, the pain of it not working out, the pain of not being able to win that person back, that sucks. That hurts. But you know what? At least you tried. At least you gave it your biggest shot. And you know what? If some people think you should be embarrassed, well then so let them. The thing is, you are the one who lives with it. And I agree. The pain of it not working out and of taking the chance, and it doesn't happen, it pales in comparison to the regret of the chance gone forever. So I think that they did last longer than a lot of marriages, really, if you think about it. But there's something about the declaration of choosing that person, and for whatever reason, people they hold back. They think it's not the right time. I agree with all those reasons. But you know what? Tomorrow is never guaranteed. If there's one thing in life that you can never bank on, is tomorrow. That's why they say every time you come home safe, be grateful. So something to think about. I kind of was surprised and not surprised that I saw these headlines today, because some relationships, they kind of take on an iconic theme, like Larry, or like Bogart and Bacall, right? Like Humphrey Bogart passed away many decades before Lauren Bacall, but you always thought of them as together, even though Lauren Bacall remarried after she was widowed, and Humphrey Bogart actually had a first or second wife, so she was not his first spouse, but you always associate them together. Or similar to Paul Newman and Joanna Woodward, where Paul Newman had a wife when he met. I by no means endorse people leaving their spouses, but what I'm saying is that there's that one person that in the trajectory of someone's life that it's like they're paired, and their pairing survives even their own union. Or you can't imagine, you always imagine them with each other, even if for whatever reason they're separated and they both move on, or one moves on because one passed away. If I think of a better example, I would probably say a better example is in nobody leaves somebody for something, because that's a sore spot for me. I think if there's any reason why Al Pacino might have held back, is maybe he was worried that he might change his mind, because there are people who they always doubt they doubt themselves, maybe. That would be the only reason I could think of, that somebody says, I'm not sure because I don't know if I really will always feel this way and I don't want to waste their time. I could see that. But the only pairing that I could think of that would probably be a good one, where it's like the one and only marriage, it would probably be the Beckhams, like Victoria and David Beckham, who've been together like 30-ish years now. And, you can't imagine them without the other, right? Other than Larry, I would say the Beckhams would be kind of the archetype I'd use. So, but luckily they did get married. I think they had their 25th anniversary last year. But I would say that if there's someone out there that you want to take a chance on, and just at least express your interest, and be prepared to be either getting your dream come true, or they don't like you, or if there's somebody that you want to resurrect in your life, either it was a once upon a time close friend or more, and you don't know if you'll have to mourn getting rejected again or whatnot. But you know what? It's worth it, because I've reconnected with friends that I lost touch with. Some worked, some didn't work. But you know what? At least it allowed me to close the loop on what if I had contacted them, right? So, like I said, the pain of at least an answer, and sometimes no answer is an answer, is better than the pain of regret.